Welcome back to Retirement News Online, and joining us again is financial advisor, author, and radio show host Eric Scott. Eric, thanks for joining us today, and we're going to talk about your latest Guide to Pre-Planning. What is pre-planning? Talk about it.
You know, I can. This came about from the last 4 years, if I can get a little bit personal. And pre-planning guide is really planning for someone passing away, and I know people don't want to talk about that, but in the last 4 years, I've lost my father, I've lost my mother, my wife's lost her father, we've lost our daughter-in-law at age 24 with a 6-year-old daughter. My son-in-law and my daughter lost his mom. So I want you to think about that for a second. With all these losses so quickly, whereas the family members and those who passed ready? Did they do the planning and pre-planning they needed? You see, it doesn't matter if you're 24 and you pass away or 82 like my father. The key is, are you ready to make sure you put your family in the right position so this will be easier? It's not easy, but easier.
Well, Eric, there sounds like there's a lot of great information in this booklet. Talk about some of the things that you suggest.
You know, it's so important that we have discovered to do pre-planning dealing with someone passing away. You have the funeral, or maybe it's memorial services. We don't know what age, so it doesn't matter. Many people think, all right, I'm going to live to 80 or 90, I'll deal with it later. No, you cannot deal with it later. It could happen at any age. This little booklet and guide is designed to help you understand all the things that take place and what can you do ahead of time to make it easier on your family and your loved ones. It's probably one of the greatest gifts that you could give to them.
Eric, can you give us an example of pre-planning and then what happens if you don't?
You know, I actually have some examples, and even though this is one of the hardest times people go through in their lives, the first family member that passed out of the 5 that I discussed earlier was my father, and he was 82 years old. And my father had never been sick a day in his life, had a minor surgery, and about a year before he passed, it was interesting, we're sitting down in his den and he's talking to me. And he says, if anything ever happens to me, Eric, you're the oldest son, the top drawer of that file cabinet is where everything is. And I said, okay, Dad, don't worry, but can we go through it or can I look at it? And he says, no, it's in the top drawer. You just come and take care of it. Well, he passed away and I came to take care of it. My dad was a veteran. He served in the Air Force and served in the Korean War, and he was just an amazing person. But the veteran paperwork was not there. We could not meet with the mortuary till I found it hours later. That took time away from me to be with my mom and to help her. If we would have done the pre-planning that I know of the way it is today, I would have had all that done in 5 minutes, and we could have focused on there. I've seen where families have divided because they can't decide what to do with the headstone, and it took years to go down and changes. And that many things can divide a family that has been close at the passing of a loved one. So pre-planning is going to put you in the position to make sure you know where everything is, everything's in place, and it allows you to say to your family, I know what I want when I pass away. You don't have to make any decisions. This is what this guide will do, and it'll put you in the position to know that everything is done the way you wanted it.
Is there anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, there's so much in the guide, and we want everybody to be able to go through it and have it and do the simplicity of it, though it does take a little bit of homework. But you've got to decide as you look at this, is it a funeral or memorial? Who do I want to speak? Am I going to be cremated? Am I need to pick out the casket? What about, sometimes people do films. It allows you to look at things that you want to make sure is done. Just like the veteran paperwork with my father, it would have been much easier if I knew where that was. What about the marriage certificate? Okay, what if one of the loved ones and a spouse already passed away and now just the kids are left with it? Where is the death certificate of the parent that passed away? But one of the other things, and there's just a list of so much, I'm giving you a basic overview, but one of the other things that I think is so important is, have you ever thought about writing what I call a love letter? In that love letter, it basically says how special that child, that spouse, that grandchild, that brother or sister or friend, what they meant to you and how much you care about them and love them. You know, it doesn't matter if you write it at 30 years old or 80 years old, you can always change it. But can you imagine the feeling of making sure all of this is taken care of and making sure that there's that letter there to leave? Sometimes those letters we've seen have been written 10 years ago, but they still have the same emotions and feelings. This is a time to celebrate a life, though it's very hard, and be together and do memories and laugh and cry together. The pre-planning guide will help you to be able to do that and make life so much easier. I don't want anybody to go through what we've had to go through the last few years as a family. So we've put this together to make things easier for you.
That's financial advisor, radio show host, and author Eric Scott in St. George, Utah. And thank you for watching Retirement News Online.